He is back. The chair recognizes himself. Mr. Michel, if the government's going to go get information from banks, and understand what happened in this particular situation and in other situations, the government goes to the bank and says, I want the name of the customer who's making purchases in a certain date time, and I want the name of the customer who may have bought a firearm at any time. If they're going to do that, do you think they need to get a warrant first?
Do I think they should?
Yes.
Well, yes.
Mr. Tedesco, do you think they need to get a warrant to do that?
Yes.
Mr. Knight?
Yes.
Mr. Peterson?
Yes.
Mr. Fanone, do you think they need to get a warrant?
I apologize. Could you repeat the question?
Government goes to a bank and says, I want the name of the customer who made purchases on these specific dates and may have bought a firearm at any time. Should there be a warrant requirement before the bank has to be compelled by the government to give that information? Should there be a warrant requirement first?
I mean, in my experience, I always sought voluntary compliance. It's less paperwork. That being said, if I was unable to...
Wait. Voluntary compliance?
Correct.
How's it voluntary? This is the third party. The bank's giving it.
No, if I go to the bank and request certain information regarding an investigation that I'm participating in...
I'm just saying in a fundamental sense, do you think there should be a warrant requirement before some financial institution hands over the name of the customer based on certain purchases they may have made? So in a general sense?
Yes.
You think there should be?
Yes.
That's great, because your colleagues don't think so. Now, let me go to this. Do you think, Mr. Michel, that if it can't do a warrant, do you think there should be at least a notification? So should at least the bank say, hey, Mr. Smith, the FBI just asked me for all your purchases on a certain date, and they want to know if you've ever bought a gun. Do you think that the bank should at least tell their customer who they're supposed to serve? Do you think they should at least be compelled to tell them that?
Yes.
Mr. Tedesco?
Yes.
Mr. Knight?
Yes, with reasonable exceptions for an ongoing criminal case.
Fair enough. Mr. Peterson?
They should get a warrant.
They should get a warrant. Back to the first thing. Mr. Falone?
Again, with exceptions for criminal investigations.
We got agreement on the panel. The first time we've had that this morning. Dr. Peterson, I want you to talk about the debanking issue we saw so much of, and how that was, particularly, I guess, with the truckers, and how that's, because I see it coming. I see it coming here, and it frightens me. I want you to talk about what took place in Canada and if it in any way impacted you.
Well, there was essentially a working class protest against the extensive length of the COVID lockdowns. And one consequence of that was that Canadians who participated, even by donating to the protest and even by donating small amounts to the protest, had their bank accounts seized in consequence of a collusion between the banks and the government that was extrajudicial, that was recently deemed unconstitutional, despite the fact that we don't have strong First Amendment claims. So this happened. The government is currently maneuvering in Canada to make the possibility of such collusion a certainty across multiple actual and potential domains of so-called harm, particularly in relationship to government-defined hate. Yes, this is absolutely coming, and it's facilitated by the kinds of advancements in technology that we talked about today.
Yeah, we know it's coming because we've seen what do they call it? The liaison information report from the FBI to the bank saying possibly include firearm legislation, the easing of immigration status, new limits on public land, and discontent with renewed measures to mitigate the spread of COVID-19. So the very issue that these truckers were debanked in Canada is the very thing the government is saying to banks, we need to look at this as well. That single issue. That is, again, what frightens me so much. And frankly, when you're getting this information, if you're going to get it, why you should be compelled to get the warrant before you go get it. Mr. Knight, jump right in.
I want to clarify one part of my answer to the second question about notification.
Yep.
The Right to Financial Privacy Act, I think, does a good job of this, where notification can be delayed, but the government has to go to a court and get permission to delay. And I think if we're going,
you shift the burden.
The
burden's where it should be on the government to go get it from a court.
Absolutely, and I do believe that there should be a warrant requirement. So the notification would only be delayed in that event.
In this world we're now in, the full committee, as I said, I think I may have mentioned earlier, on the Pfizer reauthorization, we have said the same thing. If you're going to go search American citizens based on their phone number, their email address in this haystack of information that's out there, if you're going to do that, go get a warrant. And we're having the same fight there. But it seems to me that getting a warrant, Fourth Amendment constitutional right, is how it has to be handled. My time has expired. I yield to the ranking member.
Thank you very much. I thought it was very telling that Mr. Knight said that, yes, going after bank records would be inappropriate, except in a criminal investigation. Ooh, criminal investigation. That's what the FBI was doing, was involved in a criminal investigation.
With a warrant, he's for it.
No, not with a warrant. It's not necessary to have a warrant. Go back to criminal procedure. You don't always need a warrant when you have voluntary authorization. And everyone who opens a bank account is told when they open their bank account that the information may be disclosed to law enforcement. Now, if we want to change that rule in the consumer protection laws, then we need to do that. But until that, they have a reasonable expectation that law enforcement may disclose that information. Because once you are banking with a banking institution, that information in that record belongs to the banking institution. It doesn't solely belong to you anymore when you are using a bank in that banking institution and they have given disclosure. Now, if we want to make it an affirmative disclosure where an individual has to specifically check off the box that allows them to be aware of it when they're opening a bank, then that's something else. But you do not need a warrant. You can have voluntary disclosure because under our law presently, the banks have possession and ownership of that information. Now, the other thing that I think you have talked about is, are we worried about that? That this is only going to happen to the on conservatives? No, I'm also concerned if the FBI were to do overreach. I am concerned with that, and I do understand that this is something that law enforcement does and that we need to be careful about what they do. I just find it very interesting that you all are my colleagues, one of our witnesses, Mr. Fanon, is not a colleague of ours and is giving his opinion as a law enforcement officer. Sir, was there something else that you wanted to add?
Within the context of this particular investigation, one of the reasons why I believe that the FBI would have sought voluntary compliance as opposed to applying for a warrant is the sheer magnitude of the event. You had literally thousands of people who participated on the attack on the Capitol on January 6th. And in an abundance of caution and really the responsibility of the FBI and those other investigating agencies is to ensure that that violence does not occur again at our inauguration, which was only about 2 weeks after that. And so I think it's wholly appropriate, as you just said, it's completely within our capabilities as law enforcement agencies to seek voluntary compliance from these institutions to investigate criminal acts or potential criminal acts.
Thank you. So there was an imminent threat on the American people, on the homeland, that being individuals who said they were going to come back and finish the job that they had started on January 6th to try and stop the placement of Joe Biden as President of the United States. Now, there's a lot of things we could have hearings on. Mr. Chair, you have not sat down with me at any point in time like we do in other committees and talk about what are the things that we can agree on, that we want to. You came to my office one time and we had a discussion. And I gave you a list of things that I would like to have a hearing on. You completely ignored me in that. Your team doesn't even give us testimony until the very last minute that they have to. You do not even let us know the subjects of hearings. Sometimes I find out about what we're going to hear, hearing is going to be on Twitter. You are not operating as a fair dealer in this, so don't try that here in front of everybody. Well, I am concerned about things. I'm concerned about what will happen if Donald Trump does get reelected. Because on November 9th, 2023 in a Univision interview, he said, if I happen to be president and I see somebody who's doing well and beating me very badly, I say go down and indict them. They would be out of business. They'd be out of the election. On November 11th, in 2023 at a Veterans Day rally, I can't believe he was at a Veterans Day rally after what he says about those of our men and women in uniform. He said, we pledge to you that we will root out the communists, Marxists, fascists, and radical left thugs that live like vermin within the confines of our country, that lie and steal and cheat on elections. He seems to be a threat to the first, the fourth, a whole bunch of amendments, but you're not going to try and have a hearing on him in this weaponization of the federal government, which we know that Donald Trump is going to use for his own dictatorial, narcissistic, failing in business, failing in presidency, failing in life self.
Never break, always fight, never quit, do it right, play the game, win it life, have no shame, there's no time, feel the pain, live the grind, I could change, in my mind, pick a lane, commit and climb, the only way to win it life. I never miss, that's fact, taking big swings, bitch, hand me the bat, put me in the ring, you'll go out in a bag, cause I sing what I mean and I bring it to the mad light. Ain't got time to kill, I got time to feel, I took the red pill, I know life's short so I wanna live real, but how's it supposed to feel? How's it supposed to feel? How's it supposed to feel? They wanna sing my name, but they holding back. They wanna say they hate, but they know it's cap. I ain't playing no games, I just do, that's fact. And I don't feel no shame, it's a mood you lack. I go crazy, nah bitch I ain't lazy. Track after track, I work on this shit daily. Pass me the jack, right as fuel, got me hazy. About to unpack all these things I've been chasing. I've got visions in my head, like memories after death. To be a legend instead of something you can forget. I'm living up every breath, I'd rather lead than be led. I'll fill the seats as I spread with every word that I've said.